Hey guys, Dr. Huntington here, and in this video we're going to look at how to eliminate gluten from your diet. We'll also look at where gluten's found and good alternatives to it. Now, a gluten-free diet has become pretty popular in the last 10 years, even for those who don't have celiac disease. And it's probably because a lot of people report that they just feel better on a gluten-free diet, even those that don't have celiac disease. And this supports the theory that gluten intolerance and gluten sensitivity together are probably pretty common. In fact, talking to my colleagues and considering tens of thousands of lab results, it's clear that the percentage of people that have gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity showing up on their lab testing is increasing, and it might be approaching 50%. And many other people who don't have gluten show up as a problem on their labs still feel much better on a gluten-free diet. So eliminating gluten from your diet is a good idea, whether you test positive for an intolerance or not. And if you have celiac disease, eliminating gluten is vital to your health and is the only treatment option. When you stop eating gluten, you give your body a rest from the irritation that gluten causes. And for those with celiac disease, the hope is that the small intestine can heal and the body can begin to absorb nutrients properly once the gluten's out of the diet. In fact, for those with celiac, you don't ever want to eat any gluten if you hope to have complete and long-term healing. The moral of the story here is this: gluten is not a healthy protein to consume for anyone, and therefore everyone should avoid it. And for those with celiac or gluten intolerance, it's an absolute must that you avoid gluten. It's just too damaging to your health to be lazy about this. But in order to do that, you need to know where the gluten hides, because it hides in a lot of unsuspecting products. You got to be aware of your cosmetics, medications, dietary supplements. None of the supplements I recommend contain gluten, as you might imagine, but you need to check other supplements. You also need to watch out for alcohol, fried foods, sauces and marinades and dressing. Also convenience meats like cold cuts and hot dogs. And when shopping, you have to read labels. The tough part is that the labels will often hide gluten under a different name. Well, a simple example would be wheat. I mean, it's not hidden there. It's assumed that you know wheat has gluten. And of course, that's an easy one. But there are over 50 different terms which will mean that a product contains gluten. And I cover all those common names in a different video, so make sure you look up that video and learn those terms. Now, to make things a little easier, the FDA is a standard gluten-free labeling protocol, and a manufacturer can label an item gluten-free if the product does not naturally contain gluten, or gluten has been removed and no more than 20 parts per million of gluten remain. Now, this 20 parts per million thing is important if you have celiac, because under 20 parts per million is what is considered safe for celiac. But it's debatable though, because it only takes a tiny amount of gluten in some people to cause a reaction. So if you find that you don't feel well on food that naturally contains gluten but is labeled gluten-free, it's probably one of two reasons. Either you're super sensitive to gluten and you can't tolerate even small amounts, or you're sensitive to some other ingredient, such as corn or soy or whatever else is in the product. Now, here's another key piece of information for reading labels. A wheat-free label does not mean the same thing as gluten-free, because many other grains contain gluten, not just wheat. So you have to know the gluten-containing grains, and I cover that in another video. Your best bet is to eat a diet that is composed of whole foods that are naturally gluten-free. For snacks, consider things like pumpkin and sunflower seeds, pecans and macadamia or walnuts. For proteins, choose grass-fed meat and wild seafood, it's not breaded or marinated. And remember that the serving size for your protein should be about 3 to 5 ounces for most people. Too much protein can cause other problems in the long term. Eggs are always gluten-free. And remember, organic pasture-raised eggs will be your best choice. Eat lots of veggies and a small amount of low glycemic fruit. Make that fruit organic. Okay, so once you get rid of gluten foods, you'll need some alternatives. So instead of wheat flour for food preparation, use coconut or almond or tapioca flour. Replace soy sauce with coconut aminos. It tastes almost the same. Replace pasta. Try making noodles from zucchini or buy sweet potato noodles. And if you really want to pretend you're eating like a full-on Italian meal, you can bake spaghetti squash and top it with marinara meatballs. You just got to make sure the meatballs are gluten-free. Another great replacement food is riced cauliflower or cauliflower mash. This can obviously replace rice or mashed potatoes. And it packs all the nutrients of cauliflower, without the starchy carb spike. And one last tip I'll throw in here for my dad, who once asked me if the gluten-free beer in the health store was good for him. No, Dad, just because something is labeled gluten-free does not mean that it's healthy for you. Unfortunately, gluten-free products are often packed with other junk that you don't want to eat, including sugar or corn or chemicals and other grains. So check out my other videos to learn more about an overall healthy diet. And if you found this video helpful, you can subscribe or share it with others. Okay, thanks for watching.